What up, ladies and gentlemen, Chen here, bringing you guys another video. Today I am going to be describing and explaining exactly how to use Akshan'S E perfectly. So Akshan, of course, is very reliant on his E. It is basically what makes him a champion, and it is also very crucial that if you want to not only learn him, but also counter him to understand how his E works. So without further ado, if you enjoy the video, make sure to smash the like button, join the Crimson Pack by subscribing to the channel. Let's get right into it. Alright, so starting off, let me explain exactly what his E does. First and foremost, as I mentioned in the introduction, Akshan E is the whole premise behind his kit, right? His passive, very similar Lucian, Q, Sivir, Gnar, W, Evelynn, and R, Caitlyn, right? E, there is no champion that has an ability like his E. The only thing that is close to resembling it is Camille's E. However, hers does not do a majority of her damage, right? So, very important to recognize that. Now, let me read over exactly what it does. First cast, Akshan fires a grappling hook attaching to the terrain. Second cast, Akshan swings around the terrain, repeatedly firing. And third cast, he dives off and fires a final shot. So with that being said, I'm just going to be going over everything you need to know about his E. So in the bottom, it does say colliding with enemy champion or terrain will end and champion takedowns refresh. So first and foremost, how you want to think about his E is similar to drawing a circle. So the best demonstration I can show you is like this. You see how he goes in a perfect circle? Now, because League is made in a map with like weird curves, you can't actually get this perfect circle anywhere other than, like, let's say a tower over here. But that is how you want to think about it. So for example, if I throw my E here, the circle is going to draw roughly around here, right? And if you watch, boom, there's the circle. Why is this important? Because you have to be very critical about where the enemy is positioned. For example, if an enemy is here, this circle is perfect because I'm going to be hitting it multiple times, right? Whereas if, let's say, the enemy was somewhere else, for example, let's say the enemy was right here, if I drew the circle, I hit it. And it's a lot less damage rather than if I did it at the very edge, right? And I'm going to be doing a lot more damage. I think there's like 1 or 2 extra shots. And although it might not seem like a lot, 1 to 2 extra shots late game, keep in mind, I don't have any items, so let's say I got some items, right? Let's say I got some items. My E is doing 212 damage. So if I got like a beautiful E, I'm pretty much almost one-shotting people, right? One-shotting Squishy. Whereas, let's say I bumped into him, it's not going to be as much damage, as you can see. Now, critical things to note, first and foremost, there are a billion E combinations, right? All throughout Summoner Rift. You can literally, as simple as doing it from here to here, it's going to be completely different, right? Same with, like, it's literally completely different. So, in order for you to use it properly, first and foremost, you actually have to go into Practice Tool or simply play enough Akshan games to understand. Now, let's go into a different concept. Let's say the enemy was right here. Let's say the enemy was roughly right here, alright? So there's a couple things you can do here. First and foremost, like I said, if you do it here, you have to draw the circle. I'm going to be hitting him. Whereas if I do it here, I'm actually going to curve right through him. So that's like a good example as to why where your E is placed is mattered and why the circle concept is very important. Alright, so now let's go over another concept, the concept of rather than drawing a perfect circle, because there are counterplays to this, to go the other way instead. What I mean by this is like that. You're still going to get relatively the same shot, and the trajectory is completely different, right? Because what'll happen if you do it like this, rather than something like this, they technically fire a similar shot, but one has counterplay and one doesn't. So let's say, for example, the guy is here, and he moves into right here, right? What's going to happen is while your E is flying, that's not a good example. while your E is flying, there's a good chance they actually neglect a lot of the damage. Whereas if you fly over here, you're going to be able to get up in personal. It's not really the best demonstration, but basically what I'm saying is if you're firing your E at your max range, right, and you're drawing a circle, enemies can easily walk, like let's say this isn't a full terrain, enemies can easily walk in the middle of your circle, and you're actually not going to be doing the damage. A good example is people right here. And this is really critical for tower diving. Look. So I fired maybe 3 shots. Any decent player is actually going to be starting here and then moving towards bottom side. This is the counterplay to Akshan. You're pretty much going to be firing 0 shots, but the counterplay to this, as demonstrated right here, is to instead go up in personal, right? So in this instance right here, you're going to be firing at least 4 to 5 shots. It does not matter where they go. Hopefully you guys can understand that. So let me just go over it again. For example, sometimes going for the perfect circle where like their position might not be the best and you just want to go for the other wall because you're guaranteed damage. Alright, that's basically the concept. Alright, another concept that I'm going to show you guys is the E flash. This does have some implications, but it's not like too practical. So this combo is mostly used when you're inside like probably the jungle. If you're in open range, this isn't really needed, but for example, let's say an enemy was here and you know he's low HP. Obviously, you can do a couple like good E's, right? You could do this one and it's gonna do a lot of damage, but let's say there's no good E option, right? Then you probably just want to look to finish him off, so you can E, let go, and then flash. And it's going to get the final shot, right? Because his E has a third cast where he dives off the rope and fires a final shot. So just for example, based on how his E works, you E again, and then you let go, and it'll fire a final shot. So for demonstration purposes, it's like this, and then you flash. It's going to fire a final shot. So that is another thing you could do. It's used in certain circumstances. Now, I'm not going to say it's too useful, because 90% of the time, like, why not just find the best E you can possibly do, right? Most of the terrain, there's going to be good E's to, you know, go through. Like, even in this small area, if an enemy was right here, you can still have a pretty good E like that, stuff like that. So it's not too practical, but just know that it is a possibility. Like, I don't know, maybe style points you wanted or something, I don't know. It's there. Flash, E, for the third cast and the final shot. Alright, now let's move on to a couple other things. So, first and foremost, if you're in lane, right, and let's say there are minions, I disabled minions, but let's say there's minions. If you E, your E is naturally going to hit the minions, right? So, it is very critical for you to have a specific proc before going in and using E. You can do this multiple ways. You can do this with Q. It's going to proc them. Pretend this is a minion, right? You Q, and then it hits the enemy, and then you go in. It's going to prio them because they're marked. Or you can actually do it with a simple auto. I messed up there. So like, auto and then you E it, right? And then also keep in mind your R procs. So there are some instances, let's say they're full HP, and there's like a minion wave. You could technically R, and it's going to clear the minion wave. It's going to mark them once, and then you can also go in like that. Very rare, but just keep in mind it is a capability. Now, your bread and butter combo with your E should be going in invis, looking for the Q, and then looking for the E, right? Rarely do you want to use R first. And I'm kind of branching out of just E and more into Akshan combos, but it's still very useful to know. So now really quickly, I do want to mention something, and it is very crucial that a lot of people actually don't know about. It's the ER combo. So if you R and then E mid-air, you're actually not firing your E damage. So for example, look. That is roughly my DPS with a regular R. And then if I did it like this, you see how you're not firing your E at all, right? Because normally it's going to fire, but if you're casting your R, you're not going to fire. Now, basically, you never want to do an ER or an RE unless they're like really low and you're just trying to like kind of juke them. So like for example, let's say someone's trying to block, you R them. This is the only time you can do this, and then you let go either mid-air or towards the end when you have like a better positioning and they can't block it. So just keep that in mind. You should never be doing ER for damage, only to finish someone off. So if they're low, once again, cast it mid-air, and this is how you get away. Because you're losing all of your E damage. 90% of the time, if, like, let's say they're full HP, you just kind of want to EN to do most damage, and then do some basic combo, and then look to finish them off with R later. Something like that. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you guys learned stuff about his E. I'm going to wrap up this video with a couple of very important, like, E spots, just so you don't have to, like, test around. Very first and foremost, at the river. Basically, anywhere in this middle is going to be good because you're going to be able to enter the crevices over here. As you can see, it's a very hefty swing. So let's say an enemy's right here. This is a very hefty swing. And then also, let's say an enemy's right here. This is going to be a very hefty swing, right? A lot of leisure, because basically any terrain that can allow you to go almost a full motion, you're gonna do a shit ton of damage. Alright, some other areas, you can do this to go in similarly like that. And the best way to improve is just to test around, right? Right here, that is a beautiful almost 360 motion. Small crevices like this you can also go through. I kind of messed up there. Okay, well, you get the gist. Yeah, there we go. And that, once again, a full motion. You can go over these rocks as well. You just need a good start. You can actually almost fully 360 here. So just keep that in mind. Go to practice tool. Like, I can show you the spots, but you still need to practice it, right? And then obviously a spot like this as well. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now I actually am recording this after editing. I realized I forgot some major points. My apologies. Very first concept that I forgot is actually the E range is very misleading. If you look and hover at the range right here, you would think that it wouldn't hit, but it actually will. So it's a lot longer than you would think. This is very critical. A good example is coming from base. Like right here, you wouldn't think it would hit, and it wouldn't. But right here, like, it actually latches on much longer than you would think. So this is very critical to know if you're, like, dancing around the terrain. For example, right here, it just goes a little bit longer than you would think, and that is very critical to know. Alright, and the second concept I wanted to talk about that I forgot is basically how to maximize your DPS in Baron Pit and Drake. I've tested every single combination. These are the only ways that'll work. You want to stand roughly in this line, anywhere between, and just hang towards your nearest wall and swing like that. You're going to be doing 257 damage every single time. As you can see, the final shot's going to get it. You can also do it from here. It doesn't really matter where you go from. Let me wait for the passive to drop out. And as you can see, 257. Same thing over here. Oh, Drake actually spawned. Then this is a good time to showcase exactly the damage. Let me... Alright. As you can see, that showed about 115. And then if I do it the other side as well... hold on. 153. Gotta wait for the passive. 153. So pretty much just stand in between this line and grapple towards the nearest wall, in which, once again, remember the circle. As long as you are drawing the circle roughly like smiley per se, then it's gonna work. Let me show you on the Rift Herald as well. Rift is actually a little weird. Can I summon Baron? Alright, so now we got Baron. Not sure why his HP is not showing. There we go. Whoops, did not mean to auto him. And yeah, so I'm gonna show you again. It's going to be doing 42 damage. Now keep in mind I don't have items, right? Late game you're going to be doing more damage. I'm just showing you that it's doing the same amount of damage. So that is, I believe it's 42 as well. I just did an extra auto. Yeah, it's 42. So yeah, just make sure you're always standing across from this line and then find the nearest wall to grapple. I can try closer angle. It's the same damage. So pretty much any wall you can grapple to other than like here, for obvious reasons you're not going to be doing shit here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Anyways, that is it for the video. Hopefully you guys learned something. If you did, make sure to smash the like button. Join the Crimson Pack by subscribing to the channel. I will be doing a lot of more in-depth auction guides coming. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And hopefully you guys decide to pick up Akshan or even wanted to counter him. As mentioned throughout the video, I showed you plenty of ways to counter his E. Like I said, it is his bread and butter ability, so if you know how to counter it, you will be able to counter the champ as a whole. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all have a great day. Chen out.